Indy 500 Films presents The Legends of the Brickyard.
For 75 years, man and machine have waged war against each other on a battlefield known as the Brickyard. Each year, one man emerges to claim the crown jewel and be called champion of the Indianapolis 500. Hi, everyone. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome to Legends of the Brickyard. The 1991 Indianapolis 500 will go into the books as one of the most dramatic and historic races ever. History-making events unfolded with almost every left-hand corner negotiated on this famed 2.5-mile oval. Even Hollywood could not have written a better script for the Diamond Jubilee edition of the greatest spectacle in motor racing history. Diamonds, just simple stones from the earth, but yet stones that speak of elegance, stones that glitter. The month of May carried a special sparkle at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 1991. Like the diamonds that make up the coveted winner's ring, the world's greatest auto racing event glistened in the glamour of its Diamond Jubilee. It's been a radiant 75 years at the old Brickyard, rich in history, lush with tradition, and abundant with 75 years of memories. Opening day at Indy is wet and rainy, but even inclement weather can't alter tradition as the pomp and ceremony of handing over the keys to this year's Dodge Viper pace car officially opens the track. It's Saturday, May 4th, 1991, and it's time to go racing at Indy for the 75th time. Although the track opened on Saturday, weather did not permit the green flag to drop until Monday. And when it did, racing teams took to the track with a vengeance, in search of that elusive and addicting Indy speed. 88 cars have been entered for 43 drivers, and today all begin the shuffling for position that eventually shakes out into one car cruising to victory lane. And just as it was in 1909 when the Indianapolis Motor Speedway was built, each competitor thinks he's the driver who can be that winner, who will wear the diamond ring on his finger to mark this, the Diamond Jubilee running of the Indianapolis 500. For last year's winner, Ari Lyondike, fans are an important part of the victory equation.
The fans here in Indianapolis, you know, they're very supportive, very loyal of the drivers, and if you win this race and after you win it, they seem to be, you know, even more supportive of you. And, you know, it's a lot of fun to be here. You feel like, you feel very much appreciated coming back to this place.
Practice is followed by more practice as a ticking May time clock increases the urgency to find the speed needed to make the field. And then the pressure took its toll. Rick Mears hits the turn one wall, his first crash at Indy since coming 14 years ago. And when Mark Dismore totally destroyed his car in turn 4, the track was closed for the day. Dismore was taken to Methodist Hospital awake and alert, but with multiple injuries to his arms, legs, and feet. Traditions are renewed as the Chrysler Newport, the 1941 official pace car, takes part in qualifying day ceremonies. And in line with Indy tradition, it's A.J. Foyt who very appropriately makes the first qualifying attempt. For A.J., this is his 34th consecutive Indianapolis 500 and supposedly the last for the four-time winner. It's been a long and happy association for A.J. and Indy.
Well, you know, Mr. Hullman and I was very close. I respected man highly. When I first come up to Indianapolis, they really gave me a place to live, and I guess I was kind of like an adopted son to Mr. Hullman, and I really respect him, and I think Mr. Hullman was probably as happy as I was when I won the 4th time, because we rode around the racetrack, and he had tears in his eyes, and I had tears in my eyes, and I think both of us probably the biggest thrill that I will ever have in my lifetime, and I'm quite sure it was before Mr. Hullman passed away, one of the biggest thrills he ever had, because to me, it's one of the biggest things in my life is Indianapolis.
With Indy tradition in his heart and his glory days still playing in his memory, Foyt finds the inspiration and the speed needed to qualify in the front row. Foyt singes the old Brickyard for an average 4-lap speed of 222.443 miles an hour. 4-time Indy starter Randy Lewis takes to the track next, but Lewis's Lola Cosworth slams into the turn 1 wall. 1985 winner Danny Sullivan pushes his Alfa Romeo to a 218.343 4-lap average. 1969 winner Mario Andretti takes the Kmart Haviland Chevy out and qualifies on the outside of the front row with a 221.818 4-lap gem. For Bobby Rahal, who finished 2nd last year, being fast is one thing, being good is another. There's another ingredient every driver hopes for.
And with this race, everything's got to go your way. I mean, it's got to go your way for every race. But, you know, with the other races, they're just sort of one of a series, and this race is really unto itself. So it's, yeah, without question, I'd definitely like to be lucky than good.
Rahal stops the watch with a 4-lap 221.401 average. Good enough to start on the inside of row 2. And then it's Rick Mears. Just one day following his first ever crash at Indy, Mears guns his backup car to a searing 224.113 qualifying speed. Good enough to win a record 6th pole position. Just to be at Indy means something very special to these drivers. Al Unser Jr. sums it up.
It's hard to put in words what it'd mean to me. I drive race cars so that I can race at the Indy 500.
Little Al puts his Chevy mount in the field with a 219.823 count. Late afternoon rain left a lot of would-be competitors on the qualifying line. As for the always important final hour qualifying strategies, they too washed away with the rain. But for others, the rain which closed the track left them jubilant. A.J. Foyt's crew celebrated with champagne in the garage area after helping the tough Texan to his front row starting position. On the 2nd day of qualifying, it was Gary Bettenhausen, himself an Indy tradition, who stepped into the qualifying footlights with a sizzling 224.468 4-lap average. It makes him the fastest car in the month of May, a record for stock block engines at Indy. But instead of sitting on the pole, Bettenhausen will start on the inside of row 5 as the fastest 2nd-day qualifier. Gary's record-breaking run marked the first time in 10 years that the fastest qualifier did not start on the pole. Along with Ari Lyondike and Emerson Fittipaldi, the past 2 500 champions, the row 5 starters combined for a quicker qualifying average than the front row, another first in the history of the Indianapolis 500. For teams that haven't made the field, it's back to the books, back to poring over the possibilities of finding more speed. It's another week of practice. For some who push too hard, there's a price to pay. The last weekend of qualifying approaches, and as traditions continue, new ones begin. 30-year-old Hiro Matsushita becomes the first Japanese driver to qualify for Indy. And Willie T. Ribbs becomes the first black driver in the field with a splendid run of 217.358. For 2-time winner Gordon Johncock, his Indy bubble does not burst. He's last in a field that has averaged a record 218.590 miles an hour. The 1991 field could be classified as winners from top to bottom. 8 former champions made the field, accounting for 14 500 crowns. Interestingly, though, this marked the first time in Speedway history 2 former winners would start from the first and last positions. Race day morning. Dawn breaks with drizzling rain building the puddles that were first seen during the opening day ceremonies almost a month ago. As if reading from a script that's been used 74 times before, pre-race festivities go on. There are troops that have just returned from the Persian Gulf. Bands, queens, and celebrities. This year's heroes includes a special one. The commander of Allied forces in the Persian Gulf, General Norman Schwarzkopf.
And it's General Norman Schwarzkopf.
And once again, the Vice President of the United States, Dan Quayle.
Dan Quayle and his wife Marilyn are now on the court. The race cars will be brought out.
Cars begin moving onto pit road, gleaming brightly, sporting the colors of their sponsors. Drivers begin to arrive. The climax to the month of May is at hand. Slowly, cars are led to their starting position on the grid.
The first row. Attention in the pit area. Please place your cars on the track.
Drivers are becoming anxious. The crowd continues to build. The festivities are almost at an end. The tension becomes electric. And then the command to drivers to get ready. After a year of planning and a month of practice, it now comes down to this: a man and his machine.
Two-year machine. And it's my pleasure and honor to introduce to you Mr. Tim Neighbors.
For the driver, he sits among 32 others. But when he drops his helmet visor, his eyes see only his world. It's a world of blurring speed, a kaleidoscope of brilliant colors flashing by, the snarling roar of engines unleashed. It's a world filled with unknowns, questions that will be answered in less than 3 hours from now. For it's time to get ready to start the world's greatest motorsports event.
Here to give the traditional foreword, Mrs. Mary Hendricks Tallman.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
The field pulls away for the 75th time. It's Mears, Foyt, and Mario Andretti across the front row. Danny Sullivan's Alfa Romeo finds no life. It's back to the pits. The field moves down for the start of the 75th Indianapolis 500. But Diamond Jubilees are the last thought in drivers' minds. This is race day. This is survival time. Through turn 1, it's Mears in the lead. But behind Mears, Gary Bettenhausen's Buick breaks loose. Buddy Lazier goes into the wall. Everybody's okay, but it's a shaky start. As the field sorts itself out, Sullivan is back in. But Lazier is out. His day is over. On the restart, it's Mears, Mario, and then Michael Andretti roaring at the head of the pack. With the first racing lap in the books, that's how they line up. On a menacing track altered by heavy morning rains, drivers are quick to adjust to the changing conditions. On lap 6, a misfire in Willie T. Ribb's Buick becomes too much to continue. And historic Indy run is over. He's out. Down the front chute, Mears hangs on, but Mario drops low as the 2 front runners enter turn 1, and Andretti muscles the lead away. achiever is out after 17 laps. Then a crash in turn 1. Kevin Cogan, who's just moved up 6 positions in 10 laps, tangles with Roberto Guerrero, and they both pound the outside wall. A.J. Foyt clips some debris with the front of his car in the incident as the field works its way through the mayhem. Foyt limps to the pits with a farewell salute, his left front suspension showing his misfortune. The yellow caution flag allows Mario to pit. A.J. is out of his machine and waving to the crowd for perhaps the last time in a 5-decade racing career. The green flag flies again, and it's Michael Andretti leading the way. Michael rapidly starts building an impressive lead, but it's his cousin John who's in close pursuit. Just as Michael learned from his father, John is getting a racing lesson from Michael today. As Michael continues to dominate, it's only Fittipaldi, Unser, Rahal, Mario, and Mears who can keep him in sight. Swarming in the midday heat, these high-powered competitors persist in their attack for position. Gary Bettenhausen's best hope for victory in 19 tries comes to an end on lap 89. Michael's into the pits. He's followed by Fittipaldi, whose Penske Chevy is starting to close the gap on the hard-charging Andretti. But it's Michael who gets away first. Emo, though, is still in hot pursuit. Pit stops dictate lead changes. Allenzer Jr. inherits the top position for 3 laps while competitors pit. Unser then yields the lead back to Michael, who in turn hands control over to Fittipaldi. Debbie Rahal awaits her husband Bobby, who's out after 130 laps. A trail of smoke from his engine has signaled an end to his day. Scott Brayton brings out the 5th caution flag of the race when his Buick comes to a halt on lap 145. Mears takes this opportunity to pit. After the car developed a push early in the race, the Penske crew has been carefully experimenting to find the proper balance. And Mears has kept the leaders in sight. With the right combination, he's now in position to make a move. If past history is any indication, the odds makers had to favor Mears. In 13 previous starts, when lasting to the 3/4 mark of the race, Rick had gone on to complete the full distance 6 times, including 3 victories. Michael Andretti, however, had never completed the full 500 miles in 7 previous starts. On the restart, it's Mears' teammate Fittipaldi who storms to the front. But it's the ever-present Michael Andretti who makes the pass for the lead. 89 winner Fittipaldi has been strong all day, leading the previous 13 laps. But he just can't seem to hold off the robust Andretti, who refuses to yield control. As the cars swoop down the front straightaway, it's Andretti in front with pursuers Fittipaldi, Mears, and Mario Andretti still trying to reel him in. Down the back chute, it's Michael all alone. Through turns 2, 3, and 4, there's no one even in sight to threaten his lead. Emo is slowing down. His Penske Chevy is out with a gearbox problem. Fittipaldi's race is over. Then an engine erupts on the front stretch. It's Danny Sullivan. After the ignition problem to start the race, Sullivan's Alfa Romeo has performed impressively. With 14 laps left, the race has become a 2-car tussle. On the restart, it's Mears in the lead. But there's slower traffic ahead, including Michael's cousin, John Andretti. As the green flag drops, Michael weaves his way through traffic to the outside, and with a dramatic outside pass in turn 1, takes over the lead from Mears. Turns 3 and 4, Andretti seems to be stretching Mears. The 2-car duel may already be over. Mears closes the gap down the front stretch, tries the inside, and then, duplicating the Andretti move a lap previous, passes on the treacherous outside line. It's Mears now who starts to pull away in the clean air of an empty racetrack. As he adds seconds to the gap between himself and Andretti, it's apparent that only another yellow caution period can provide Andretti another chance. Michael gets that chance when Mario Andretti's car stalls and has to be towed in. The Penske crew awaits the final showdown. Mears' wife, Chris, anxiously looks on as the green flag falls and Michael Andretti gets one last shot at Mears. But it's Mears running laps in excess of 220 miles an hour who's putting the stretch on Andretti. Down the long back chute, Rick is getting everything he can out of his Penske Chevy. A fourth Indy victory, a feat accomplished by only two other drivers, A.J. Foyt and Alonso Sr., is now in sight, if things hold together. The Mears lead grows, but so does the tension as Chris coaches and coaxes the Penske Chevy home. Mears is down the front straight, confirming an ever-growing lead over Andretti. Michael's car owner, Carl Haas, checks the watch. Things do not look good. The white flag is out. Assuming his Chevy engine keeps firing, Rick is only 2.5 miles away from a $1 million victory. Chris agonizes. Mears is through turn 2. Penske is on the wall. He knows anything can still happen. Mears is through 4 and onto the front straight as jubilant fans cheer. For Chris, watching may be worse than driving. And finally, it's the checkered flag. Mears becomes the third driver to win 4 Indy 500s. For the crew, it's joy, but relief, too. For Chris Mears and Roger Penske, it's a dream come true as they share their happiness. And for fans who've seen another chapter in Indy history, it's also a celebration. As Penske jogs toward victory lane to meet his hot hired hand, Mears coasts in, having bested Andretti by 3.1 seconds and with an average speed for the race of 176.457 miles an hour. A weary Michael Andretti walks back to Gasoline Alley. He led the most laps of the race, 85, but he was second on the final one, the one that counted. A smiling Rick Mears wins over $1.2 million of a record total purse exceeding $7 million and becomes Indy's first $4 million man. Rick Mears has become a new tradition at Indy, an appropriate winner in the 75th running of racing's greatest and most traditional spectacle, the Indianapolis 500. Mears' record-tying fourth victory continued an incredible streak for car owner Roger Penske. Over the last decade at Indy, Penske has had at least one of the top 3 finishers in 9 races, including 5 wins. As for the Andrettis, well, they became part of history as well. Jeff Andretti joined his father Mario, brother Michael, and cousin John, marking the first time that 4 members of the same family started in the same 500. Incredibly, all 4 finished within the top 15, with Jeff winning Rookie of the Year honors just like Mario and Michael. And what about the legendary Foyt? Well, AJ decided 1991 would not be his swan song. He'll be back to try for an unprecedented 35th consecutive start in '92. I'm Bob Jenkins. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again for another Legends of the Brickyard.